Hey guys, this is Kevin from JazTime.com, and today we'll be doing a comparison between the Rolex Submariner here on my left, reference number 116610LN, versus the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, or also called the Dark Side of the Moon, reference number 311.92.44.51.01.003. Of course, we'll have links to both of the watches in the description below. We'll be going over the pricing, the dials, bezel, case, crown, bracelet, or strap. We'll talk about the class and the movement towards the end of the video. Okay, so as of May 2017, you can get the Rolex Submariner at a Rolex retailer for $8,550, or you can get it at JazTime.com for as low as $7,800. Now for the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, you can get this at a Omega authorized retailer for $12,000, or you can get it at JazTime for as low as $7,490. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in, starting with the dials first. So both dials are black dials. They only come in one other configuration. For the Rolex Submariner, you can get this obviously here in the black, or you can get the anniversary edition, which is a green dial and a green bezel. For the Omega Speedmaster, you can get it in this black dial, or you can get it in a blue dial with blue bezel. Okay. For the hour markers, for the Rolex, we have the maxi dial, which is the circular hour markers with index at the 6, 9, and 12. And these are actually 30% larger than the normal Rolex dials. For the Omega, we have regular index stick markers for marked all around. At the 12 o'clock position, I do want to point out that there's two additional smaller dots on the left and right side of the 12 o'clock position. And that's because both watches are luminescent, so that means they do glow in the dark. They both use a superluminova. For Omegas, it affects the hands as well. For the Rolex, it affects the hands as well, with the Mercedes hand and the minute and seconds hand. So both, but overall readability, the Rolex wins out, as the hour markers are much larger, as you can see from the difference from the index on the Omega. They both come with a date. Rolex is at the 3 o'clock position with a Cyclops lens on top for magnification and easier viewing of that date, whereas the aperture on the Omega is just a plain aperture with the date located at the 6 o'clock position, no magnification. Okay. One thing I do want to mention is that the Omega is a chronograph, as shown by the two chronograph pictures as a 2 o'clock position and the 4 o'clock position. So it has additional subdials. The left here, one on the left here, tracks a 60-second cycle, while the one on the 3 o'clock position tracks both a 60-minute cycle and a 12-hour cycle. And how it's tracked is that it actually has two hands, a larger hand and a smaller hand. The larger hand tracks the 60-minute cycle, while the smaller hand tracks an hour cycle. Okay, so something neat to have. Submariner is just very simple, just the index, just the hour markers and the date. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the bezel now. The bezel is made, both of these bezels, the Rolex has a ceramic black bezel, as they coined the ceramic called Cerachrome. It is a 60-minute graduated cycle with the index markers and the numbers. This 60-minute cycle with the index markers and the numbers, they are coated in a platinum, whereas the Omega, we have what they call a zirconium oxide black ceramic, and then it is actually laser etched. The tachymeter is laser etched, and it's coated, let's see here, and it is coated with a, just double checking here, is coated with a matte chrome nitrate, and it contrasts a high polish bezel. Both of these bezels are high polish. The ceramic is very beautiful, as it does retain its color over time and adds a much nicer shine overall. Okay. On how to use the 60-minute graduated cycle and the tachymeter, we do have additional videos on our YouTube channel. You can take a look on how those work, as it will take me too long to explain both how both work at the moment. So let's go ahead and talk about the case size now. For the case, we have a 40mm case for the Submariner, and that's from my index finger to my thumb here. That's 40mm in diameter. The Omega, we have a 44.25mm case. Once again, from my index finger to my thumb here, and you can kind of see that difference. The most noticeable difference is actually the side profiles of the watch, the actual thickness of the watch. Okay, so you can see there, the Omega sits much higher than the Submariner. And that's because on the back of the case back, there's actually a sapphire crystal that's about 2mm thick and really adds to the thickness of the watch overall. The actual measurement is 12.5 for the Submariner's thickness, while the Omega's is about 16mm thick. Very close to a deep sea. So something to think about, as the Submariner will sit on the wrist very nicely, whereas the Omega will be protruding from the wrist. So if you're adjusting for the occasion, you might not be able to fit the Omega underneath a suit cuff or a dress cuff. Okay. The next thing I mentioned about the cases, actually I'll just keep it shown on the side here, is that the Submariner case is made out of 904L steel, which is a very durable steel that's in-house made by Rolex. It provides a very beautiful shine, as you can see from the side. It's a high polish that travels along the bracelet, sides of the bracelet as well. Patterns very beautifully. Whereas the Omega, as you can see from the side, it has a sort of a satin finish with a high polish edge border above it. And this is the whole case is actually made out of that same ceramic as the bezel, which is a zirconium oxide black ceramic. And that ceramic is actually heated to about 1400 Celsius or 2552 Fahrenheit. And then it actually has to be machined with diamond tools in order to get this sand finish and this high polish. But overall, because the Omega is made out of the ceramic, and the Omega is made out of the ceramic and the Submariner is made out of the 904L steel, the ceramic Omega feels very light on the wrist, extremely light. The actual measurements for how much it weighs is 90.4 grams. That's pretty much about 1/20th of a pound. So it's a very light watch for being such a large watch, being that 16mm thickness with that 44.25 size case. The Submariner actually weighs out heavier than the Omega because of it. And then as we move on to the crown now, I'm going to show you from the side of the crowns. Okay. The crowns and the chrono pushers for the Omega are ceramic as well, adding to that lightness of the case. We have the Omega symbol engraved onto the crown, where the Rolex, of course, has the Rolex crown on the crown, and that's made out of the the 904L steel. One thing to mention is that the crown for the Rolex Submariner has crown guards on there to protect the crown from any damage, whereas the Omega and the Omega ceramic pushers and the crown do not have any protection. Okay, I just want to go over the functions of the crown very quickly here. So let's start off with the Submariner first in my hand. So the Submariner's crown is a twin lock double waterproofness system. It unscrews counterclockwise to the hand winding position, in which you can wind the watch. One simple tug will bring it to the first position, in which you can set the date instantaneously. As you can see there, date changes very quickly, very easily. And a final tug of the crown lets you adjust the hands or set the hands bidirectionally. We'll stop the seconds movement or the hack movement for precise time setting to an atomic clock. Always make sure, press the crown nice and tight against the case, screw it nice and tight, and that keeps this watch water resistant for up to 300 meters or 1,000 feet, as this is a diver's watch. For the Omega, the crown is not a screw down. It's simply a pusher crown, so you can tug from behind, and that brings you to the first setting, the first position, in which you can adjust the hand or the hour hand by itself bidirectionally. You cannot adjust the day until you do 2 revolutions of the hour hand, as shown. Look at the 6 o'clock position there, and there you go. So it has a quick hour jumping system, and the final position, same as the Rolex Submariner. You can adjust the hands bidirectionally, and once again we'll stop the seconds hand or the hack movement for precise time setting. Okay. The chrono pushers serve the functions as a stopwatch, as the central seconds hand starts its revolution once you press the 2 o'clock position chrono pusher. Pressing it again will stop that that central seconds hand, while the 4 o'clock position chrono pusher will reset the 3 o'clock position sub dial and the central minute hand or central seconds hand to the 12 o'clock position. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the bracelets now. Oh, one last thing to mention: the water resistance of the Omega is 50 meters or 167 feet. Okay, so complete difference in water resistance. Now let's go ahead and move on to the bracelet or strap. For the Rolex, we have this beautiful satin finish oyster bracelet. However, it does only come in the oyster bracelet, whereas the Omega has a nylon. Apologize. Here we go. We have a black nylon fabric strap with red contrasted stitching. As I turn this around to the side, see that red contrasted stitching. The actual backside of the strap is a leather backing, and it can also come in the steel bracelet as well. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for a little bit more options. For the clasp, we have 2 different styles of clasp. The Omega has a very simple tang buckle clasp that's actually made out of ceramic, which adds to the overall lightness of the watch. And I'll go ahead and show you the Submariners in depth now. For the Submariners, we have a little more complicated clasp, but it's still very simple overall. So it has we have what's called a safety folding clasp. So here's a safety. It locks onto the folding oyster, which is this, which reveals the Rolex name embossed onto the clasp plate itself on a high polish. There you go. And you're probably thinking, well, I want more adjustability. The Omega has really nice adjustability because it's a very simple tang buckle bracelet, right? Or strap. Well, the Rolex Submariner, actually, they recently upgraded the clasp. It used to be what's called the comfort extension link, where you could just adjust the bracelet 5 millimeters forward or backwards. But now we have what's called the glide lock extension, and you can actually adjust your bracelet 20 millimeters forward or 20 millimeters backwards. So that's how the bracelet looks, fully inward. And then you can adjust 20 millimeters outward. Very, very nice. So that adjustment will allow you to just make minor adjustments, so you don't have to take your Submariner to go or take it to a watch deal or watchmaker and have them remove a link and pay that extra money. It lets you adjust on the fly very easily while still keeping that beautiful steel bracelet. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the movement. So for the movement, we have, I'll start with the Rolex first. We have the simple oyster case back, which has a parachrome hairspring, which is 10 times more resistance to shocks, and it is an anti-magnetic spring. It's a Rolex's caliber 3135 with a precision of -2 +2 seconds a day. Has the functions of the center, hour, minute, and seconds hand with that instantaneous changing of the day and the stopping of the seconds hand, as I've shown you. The power reserve of this watch is 48 hours. So you can put this down on a Friday evening, pick it back up on a Saturday evening, it'll still be keeping time fine. For the Omega, we have a exhibition case back where the case back is fully made out of sapphire, and you can actually see the movement with the patterning on the oscillator and the bridges. So it's very beautiful case back to look at. The movement for the Omega is a self-winding chronograph movement with a column wheel mechanism, co-axial escapement as Omega is known for. One major thing is a silicone balance spring on a free sprung balance, which it has a anti-magnetic properties such as the parachrome hairspring and also shock resistance as well. Okay, it has 2 barrels mounted in series, automatic winding in both directions, and is rhodium plated with the finish with Geneva waves, which is the patterning that you see. As I kind of tilt it towards the light, you can see that patterning on the oscillator and the bridges. The power reserve of the Omega caliber 9300 movement is 60 hours. So this has much more a higher power reserve than the Submariner. You can put this down on a Friday evening, you can pick this back up on a Monday evening, and it'll still be keeping time fine. All right. So actually, let me go ahead and actually show you these watches on my wrist now. So let's start with the Submariner first. So there's a Submariner on the wrist. Very beautiful. As I mentioned before, that profile, look at that, not too high. And let me actually go ahead and show you the Omegas now. Okay. Okay, so this is the Omega on the wrist. Just want to show you that side profile one more time. Here you go. See, actually, as I mentioned before, very high profile. Will definitely not fit under too many suit cuffs or dress cuffs very nicely. Okay. So if you're interested in purchasing this model or any other model for the lowest possible price, check out our website at JazTime.com. We have the lowest prices guaranteed. We offer free shipping and a 1-year warranty. And if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe below. We got lots more to show you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.